Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's current topic is COVID returns, impact on underprivileged education. Now, before I will go on the topic, I would like to inform you that today is the World Veterinary Day. World Veterinary Day is celebrated on the last Saturday of April. It is observed every year to mark the importance of veterinary doctors who serve to protect animals. Currently, it is estimated that there are over 1.8 million veterinary doctors across the world. During World Veterinary Day, a number of vet initiatives takes place on all over the world, and each one of them aims to raise awareness of the important role veterinarians play while fighting for a much more sustainable future for all animals. Media conference with Lal Goel salute all the veterinarians for their hard work to serve the humanity. Now coming to the main topic, that is the COVID returns, impact on underprivileged education. Underprivileged does not have the advantages other people have. Underprivileged people usually live in poverty. A privilege is a right or an advantage, and people who are underprivileged lack such rights and advantages. Many times, this word is used as a synonym for poor. People often worry about underprivileged children who are living in poverty and may not have access to healthy food or good medical care as well as education. Underprivileged children often go to the worst schools too, which is another disadvantage. The goal of universal education eludes India, even though there is now a primary school in practically every village. The rate of dropouts continues to be over 50%. The greatest casualty in the failure of our education system has been the girl child, whether in terms of enrollment, retention rates in primary school, or even participation in higher education relative to the overall enrollment rate. When it comes to effective education of children from the backward, rural, or tribal areas, special efforts within the present system have been invariably geared towards the residential school pattern. State governments have set up a large number of tribal hostels and ashrams schools for tribal children in Madhya Pradesh and Andhra Pradesh. Navodaya Vidyalayas set up in almost every rural district in the country constitute the latest government venture in this field. Now, non-government organizations, NGOs, have set up high-quality, renowned residential schools for tribal and backward rural areas such as the Ramakrishna Mission in along Arunachal Pradesh and Deoghar, Bihar. The well-known girls boarding school set up by the Sarda Mission for tribal girls of Tirap district, Arunachal Pradesh, 18 Vivekanand Kendras also in Arunachal Pradesh, Christian missionary schools in the tribal belt of Chota Nagpur and Vanasthali Vidyapith, Rajasthan. The Christian missionaries have done human service in educating tribal girls in northeastern states. Vanasthali girls are today doing well in many spheres in that region. The ground reality of the average elementary school in rural, tribal, and backward areas is grim. A close look at a case study of a tribal district in Andhra Pradesh can help to us understand the problem. The state of education in Adilabad district of Andhra Pradesh, 30 years after independence, offers a unique message. The state government has made commendable efforts to educate Gonds by setting up ashrams, boarding schools. Investment has also been very high. In 1979, Purer Hemendorf, who has written the book Tribes of India, did a survey of all the tribal areas in Andhra Pradesh. He found 399 ashrams schools with 26,746 students, about 2,000 primary and upper primary schools, about 40,000 students, 75 high schools, about 3,630 students, and 6 junior schools with 305 students. The annual budget in 1978-79 was rupees 5 crore 63 lakhs 40,000. Yet, 36 years later, only 5 Gonds and 2 Pradhans had obtained university degrees. In the village Marlavai, after being 34 years in operation, this system has produced only 11 literate adults among the villagers. Only few children made progress beyond the 5th standard. Due to the inability to cope with exams, most of the students have failed to get admissions to colleges. Even for training in mechanical skills, this program was a failure. Though through job reservations for tribal exist, the qualified human power is limited or is unavailable. In 1977, altogether 6 tribals were enrolled in the District Industrial Training Institute ITI through Singaram collieries operated through and regular imported labor for skilled job from other districts. While in 1977, there were 17 vacancies for ITI certificate holders in the employment exchange, there were only 2 tribal candidates available. What are the reasons for this failure? Hemendorf suggests that the problem lies in the web of socio-economic backwardness in which these tribes have historically been invested. However, unwilling non-Gondi teachers, uninterested in the people and the social milieu to which they belong, have also largely contributed to the lack of success of tribal schools and high dropout rates among Gondi children. Several schemes have been instituted to ensure that underprivileged children receive a solid educational base, including Samagra Shiksha and strengthening for providing quality education in madrasas, SPQEM. The right to education guarantees free and quality education to all children aged between 6 and 14. And additionally, incentives like midday meal, scholarships, and even reservations in private schools are designed to encourage maximum enrollment of students from underprivileged backgrounds. According to the report of the National Sample Survey Office, NSSO, 32 million Indian children of age up to 13 years have never attended any school, the majority of them belonging to the socially disadvantaged class. This was done in 2014. And when it comes to quality education, there is an extreme shortage of qualified and dedicated teachers. Evidently, nothing extraordinary can be expected from students. Besides, a significant number of government schools have a shortage of quality infrastructure, including fans in classrooms and separate toilets for girls and boys. There is a significant gap between policy and practice, and this can be filled by restructuring the educational system. The key to reforming education for the underprivileged lies in first going back to basics, understanding the term underprivileged and comprehending the socio-economic background of the underprivileged is an absolute necessity. The umbrella term covers multiple categories of people across various spectrums. Each category has different upbringings, views, ambitions, and goals. It is necessary to segregate these various sections and then provide customizable solutions that are both viable and sustainable. Street children were the most vulnerable during the lockdown. If you see the nature of their livelihood, they are dependent on begging, vending, or helping their families with work. Everything has been affected by the COVID situation. It was a challenge to connect with the children as movement was restricted even for the NGOs. The whereabouts of many of these children could not be determined because of a lack of communication. It was not all well. They had developed several health problems. Many were found in unhygienic conditions with discharge in their eyes and wax in their ears. They had eaten half of their usual daily diet. Some children claimed that they were discriminated against during food distribution drives because of their appearance. The immediate impact of the pandemic is the lack of entry of new children in schools. ASER, Annual Status of Education Report, which is an annual survey that aims to provide reliable annual estimates of children's schooling status and basic learning levels for each state and rural district in India, has in a recent study said that many young children have not joined school, and there is a sharp jump in out of school children in the 6 to 10 age group. This has gone up from 1.8% in 2018 to 5.3% in 2020, and among all children up to 16 years from 4% to 5.5%. One of the reasons may that the admissions process may still not be completed due to COVID-19, but primarily it could be that parents have decided to keep their children at home for fear of the virus or the inability to afford their education. Now, when we mentioned about COVID returns, why we mentioned the COVID returns is because till yesterday, that is on 23rd April 2021, India registered only on yesterday only 3,45,147 new cases of coronavirus, which has taken the country's cumulative tally past 1 crore 66 lakhs cases. Yesterday, 2,622 lost their life. Thus, total death due to corona raised to 1,89,549. According to health officials, India has administered vaccine of more than 13 crores 50 lakhs doses across the country as of 23rd April 2021. Now, coming to our topic, that is COVID returns impact on underprivileged education, we have a very elite who are having full say or authority in this field, educated, qualified, experienced panel with us. I would like to invite my first guest, and he is Professor Dr. Oommen Mammen. Professor Dr. Oommen Mammen is MBA, MPhil, PhD, is the founder, is the former Dean Naipanya School of Management. He is the CEO of Allen and Harbour Kottayam. He has done his PhD in management from Utrecht University, Amsterdam, Netherlands. He is the visiting professor of Illinois University, USA, and University of Lund, Sweden. He is the resource person of Faculty Development Program, trainer, management consultant. He is having 42 years of experience in corporate and academics, 17 years in academics, and 25 years in teaching. His specialized area is spiritual intelligence in management. Welcome, Professor Dr. Oommen Mammen on our show. Professor Dr. Oommen Mammen, you heard what I have mentioned. We are talking so many things for many industries, MSMEs, migrants. We are talking about higher education, online education, and whatnot. But are we looking for those who are really underprivileged? Now, that's why we would like to know from you the COVID returns impact on underprivileged education. Professor Dr. Oommen Mammen, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. It's so nice to meet Dr. Pai again after 3 years. I'm meeting him. And all fellow panelists, it's always nice to be with you people. I was a bit confused when the subject is given to me, underprivileged education. When we have It's a confusion. It's a kind of confusion. Underprivileged, what way we are, what kind of privileges? Privileges to learn, privileges to teach, or privileges to be treated, or privileges to be treated as a human being? These so many questions are there in my mind. I think I have to share one of my first thought process that derived out of Mr. Goel's comment or introduction. He said about a qualified teacher. What do you mean by a qualified teacher? A qualified teacher, you mean that it is to be certified by any government organization, UGC, or a university that makes you qualified? I don't think. I strongly don't believe it is not that. I do have a classical example of a woman who lived during 1957, 60s and all. Her name is Miss Carolina Jacinta de Jesus. She's from Brazil. She's a rag picker. She lived in Sao Paulo, Brazil, picking the rags. She has got a qualification of third standard, studied up to standard 3, married thrice, 3 children. And, she was doing, after all the heavy day's work, she used to teach the children around her who was living in the slum. Who's living in the slum, nothing much. She just taught her the numerical skills, taught her to read what is being, read and calculate the calculation so that they can claim the legitimate money or legitimate rewards for the rags here given to the shopkeepers or to the rag collectors. And she also did one amazing thing she did was that she taught them to dream. These children, she taught them to dream. Dream a very small dream like a clean, whitewashed or painted room with neat linen and a neat toilet. Not a big dream at all. And she is also a teacher. I think she has written a book, The Dark Child. She has written a book, and it's the same is available. Was available till and at the moment it is out of print. I think it's published in 1960s. 1960s, I think. 1960s it has been published. Anyhow, the subject is not that. Just about a word about the teachers, the qualified teacher. I think the qualification means nothing. Anybody can teach if you have a will in your mind. Anybody can teach. Anybody can share. Anybody can teach the student or a fellow human being to dream in a larger way or in a smaller way. So a teacher needs to be a one who can make anyone to dream about the future life. Now let us come to the pandemic situations. What to say? If you people are sitting at home today, it is because of the situations. So negative situations around us. So negative. Look at the children around you, the teenagers, the infants. The infants who are undergoing class right now. Unfortunately, it is a summer vacation for them. And what was it when there was a class online examination for a first standard student? And why can't you abandon the classes, online classes for such students? Nothing wrong will happen. Nothing will. At least you can save their mental, psychological, or emotional thinking, emotional negativity. At least that is what I felt. That is what I experienced. And look at the teenagers. Look at the university students. How severely affected. How badly it is affected. How many of our students, our population can afford a data. Me and Mr. Paul, the chairman of Global TV, happened to move around this state, Kerala, to conduct faculty development program very recently. Till in April also we had 1 or 2 programs. March we had some programs. Wherever we went, when we interacted with the principals of the organization, the first statement is that, sir, what kind of a flight was it? The government announced online classes. It has been mandatory to conduct online classes, but most of our students are not in a position to buy a laptop or a mobile phone. Even if they have a mobile phone, they do have peanuts to charge their data. And I asked her, how do you manage? As few of them I asked, how did you manage? She said, I'm talking about a principal of a women's college at a coastal belt. She said she was depending upon certain corporates so that they can share the CSR funds. They can share the CSR funds. Depending on the CSR funds, they have enabled the students to buy a laptop or a mobile phone, or they help them to charge their mobile phones. How long we can go like this? How long we can go like this? The pandemic again back in full. So destructive it is. As I said in the beginning, every day when you come back from your work, you start thinking you have a WhatsApp message saying all the severeness of COVID-19, the pandemic situations. You open the TV to see the news. There again, negative news. A person of my age, a senior citizen of my age, after seeing all these, develop sort of feeling. Yesterday, I'll tell you what happened yesterday. I was having a little bit of throat pain. I was having headache. I was having back pain. Then I saw that some WhatsApp messages stating that headache, throat pain, back pain, and all can be a symptoms of coronavirus. I don't know, but I was so tensed. And I have started gargling, inhaling, and I have consumed a paracetamol tablet also. And of course, some tranquilizer so that I can sleep peacefully. This is the continuation. This is nowhere related to the education sector. But when you come back to the education sector, the people around me, this infants, I can take examples of my own family, my grandchildren, but I don't want to say that. They are all, I must say, they are all little privileged because they do have these kind of gadgets, laptop or mobile phone. But when you look at, in general, when you look at it, you know, the current rate of ophthalmic problem in this country or sight problem in this country is 35%. 35% of the Indian population is having eyesight problem. What is going to happen at the end of this pandemic session when you are using regularly a laptop or a mobile very closely, keeping it closely to your face of the mobile, the children, what is going to happen? They don't have any precautions to cut the Blu-rays. Blu-rays cut specs they are not using. So what is that going to happen with them? And how many of the students have the privilege of having that kind of luxury, I must say luxury, of attending the classes? One day, if I attend the class, minimum I need to spend 20 rupees. When I have my income is zero, what will happen? When my income is zero, what will happen? When I go to the town every day to my office, I park my vehicle in a parking lot, in a municipal parking ground. It's a park. It's a public park where you can park your vehicle also. But as such, it's a parking station as well as a park also. Beautiful place. I have seen so many people sitting without food. Without food, certain people are sitting there. Certain people comes to me. I try to interact with fear because I don't know whether they have. We don't know whether they have. They are infected with corona or not from the street. When I interact with them, they say there is no job, sir. There is no job. They stretch your hands. How long? How many people you can support like that? It's not. It's a problem. Then my question is: privilege to be given to the education system, education, or to this, or to get rid of this poverty, get rid of the starving people around you. Starvation. Maybe somebody must say it's a curse. I feel we have pushed them into such a situation. We have pushed them into such a situation. How long we can go like this? How long? How many people you can help? But again, coming back to the education system, don't you think that we need to change the entire system? We need to change the entire system. Why do you think that your son, your daughter must start their studies learning from this age of third, from the age of 3 in Navratri Puja, and induct her to the learning process? From there, the procedure starts till he or she achieves their PhD or PG or a degree or whatever it is. Do we have to go to that kind of a system? Systemized that you have been told you have to be inducted at the age of 3, 4, 5, or 6. At the age of 6, you have to be in class 1. 15, you have to clear your matriculation. Do you think that we have to go like that? It is not necessary. I think it is high time now. This is the time to change the thinking process. This is the time to change the entire outlook as far as the education is concerned. Why do you have to depend on social responsibility funds of the corporates when a person is made to work right from the child labor? Forget about the child labor. Initial learning. That is what our Carolina did, to calculate, read, and write. Just matriculate and then let them decide what they have to learn. This is now what happened. The parent is deciding what his son or daughter need to study, and big chaos. We could have get rid of this chaos when if we could have set these priorities. If we could have set these priorities, we could have eliminated so much of chaos. We could have taken it in a much lighter way. Now each parent is in pressure. Each student is in pressure. The CBSE syllabus, CBSE exams, board exams of 12th standard, indefinitely postponed. Nobody knows when it is going to happen. And worry is that what happens with my next higher studies? What happens with my medical admission procedures? What happens? What is going to happen with my engineering admission, or what going to happen with my other academic activities? We have to think. The parents need to think. The father, the mother, all the dreamers need to think whether I should push my son into chaos. So a rethinking is a situation to rethink. Re-engineering the mindset. This is the situation to re-engineer the mindset of the parents as well as the students. Work, yearn, and you learn. Keep going ahead. What is exactly you want to learn? It is not just because of my father want me to be a doctor. Go and I joined for MBBS, and he becomes, rather than a savior, he becomes a butcher because he don't want to do that. His father or mother as a prestigious, being a doctor is a prestigious situation. So he made it like that. I want to be a good artist, but father said you don't get the parents said you'll not be accepted by the society, so you be a doctor. So I become a doctor, or rather a butcher. Sorry to use this word. With all my humble salute to all the health workers, I say this is what's happening now. I think the Kerala government has announced all the house surgeons are appointed as assistant resident doctors in any hospital they want, in government as well as private sector. All the assistant resident doctors to support the health workers. Now, it's to around 2,800 such doctors will be deployed in various health centers. So one way it is good, one way. But again, when you look as such, there is the underprivileged who are roaming around the street. What is going to happen with them? They will be taught to stretch their hands for the food. Don't you think that we have to address that first, rather than addressing the education system, and teach them to dream better, and teach them what is their strong point, and they can apply their imagination, their creativity, and their strength over there. I think my time limit is over. I'm closing with thanks to Mr. Goel and for the patient listening to all my viewers. Thank you and have a nice day. Stay safe.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oman Memon, for giving your views. And he says re-engineering the mindset. And he made one point in starting. He says, why qualified teacher? I just want to inform or tell that recently it appeared in the media that a gardener in a hospital was giving the vaccination to the public at large. So if we will say that everyone can be qualified, it can be as entitled to become a doctor. That's why I always say there should be a qualified, because there are many teachers, very sorry to say, those who are working for everything except teaching. So I mean to say, without giving any hard things or thinking for anybody, qualified means who is really qualified, who knows what to teach, how to teach, and whose intent to teach. Not that he's only having a qualification to teach. And you know very well, Dr. Oman Memon, how many teachers are, not how many, but few of the teachers are like this. Black sheep are everywhere. That's why I had nothing to say. But that's why I am using word qualified, because when a gardener can give the vaccination, what is going to happen? And we have seen even that a rabies vaccination was given instead of the COVID vaccine in one of the hospital in UP. So these things are happening. That's why we say even they have been given by the health workers, the doctors, but they are not qualified in my way. Qualification doesn't mean that they have a MA or MCom or whatnot. Anyways, now, a very important point Dr. Oman Memon has made. And he says, you are talking of education. Talk about the poverty. First, eradicate the poverty. First, see to it that the poverty should not be there. Then they will think about education. They don't have food. They are begging. And that is a very, very critical point. When these underprivileged doesn't have the money, and especially the COVID time, when everything is closed, they can't even beg. There is nothing. They can't even do any rag picking on the road. How they are going to earn money? So his point is education is there, but how you are going to address the education when even those who have they are struggling to have more devices for the data and whatnot. So how the underprivileged can get it? Thank you very much, Dr. Oman. I definitely have a very important question to ask from you, which I am going to ask in the next round. Thank you very much, Dr. Oman. Now I'm coming to my next guest. And she is Dr. Rukhsana Hassan. Dr. Rukhsana Hassan is a renowned psychologist, trainer, coach, motivational speaker, special educator for early childhood education and development, a specialized counselor for the drug abusers and alcoholic with an experience of 28 years in rehabilitation center. She holds a PhD in social work and humanity from USA, postgraduate in Master of Arts from Mysore University, postgraduate in Diabetic Health Educator from St. John's, Bangalore, and postgraduate in Human Rights, New Delhi. Her second PhD from Mother Teresa University in Counseling Psychology. Presently, she is doing her third PhD in Applied Science from Rajasthan University. She completed her research in a project about CSW in Bangalore city under Women and Child Development, Government of Karnataka. She has done research about addictive personality, child development psychology, CDP. It was done with the Children of Observation Homes Boys, Government of Karnataka. For the outstanding service towards humanity, she was awarded Indira Priyadarshini Award. She is the nominee of Kittur Rani Chennamma, Government of Karnataka, as the best social worker. She was awarded by Art Mantram Bangalore for Go Green Bangalore. She won Women's Achiever Award of N.A. Harris Foundation, Bangalore. She has presented her papers at many international conferences at Turkey, Istanbul University, and Egypt, trained teachers in Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, Pune, and all over Karnataka. She was the counselor in charge of Karnataka State Counseling Center as an advisor for the Karnataka State Minority Commission 2011-12, and also has designed pilot project for the Government of India and Government of Karnataka. She is the founder chairperson of the first rehabilitation center. She is the first minority woman in India to have started such a unique, challenging program. She designed mobile computer and training units with the help of Ministry of Labor, which benefits for the minority girls and who are denied education for various reasons. Her title is Smiley Girl of the Town. She builds a new town in the darkest dusk just with positive smile. Welcome, Dr. Rukhsana Hassan on our show. Dr. Rukhsana Hassan, please unmute yourself. You have heard what Professor Dr. Oman Memon has mentioned. And he says, instead of talking about education, talk about poverty. He says so much poverty is there. Earlier it was said curse, it is not curse. We have made it. We have created this thing. So much divide. And they are underprivileged. And if they are underprivileged, and we are right now during the COVID time, we are talking about the education, talk about their food. They talk about their stay, shelter. Those things are not being addressed. And we are talking about education. So now I would like to know, because you have worked with very closely with underprivileged. And that's why now I would like to know from you the COVID returns impact on underprivileged education. JC, Dr. Rukhsana Hassan, please.
A very good morning to all of you, to all the panelists, to all the viewers. And my big salute to all the veterinary doctors, as it is a day for them. Am I audible?
Now you are audible and visible, but your net is weak,
Yes.
Dr. Hassan. So please go ahead. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Okay. A very good morning and a very big salute to all the doctors. I heard Professor Dr. Oman speaking about it, and literally we have faced these challenges in my own native. That is why when he was telling, I was just into tears, going back to those days, distributing food kits, the ration kits to every individual's house. So we made it a point that in our village, nobody went on starving. So we had gathered something like that, to distribute the kits. Okay, keeping that side apart, let me straight away come to the underprivileged students. Underprivileged students, underprivileged in what? Denying the education or denying the system or denying the new technology. Okay, whatever Mr. Amin said, we have to eradicate the poverty. Poverty is not a new thing for Indians, that ourselves that we are a very big failure, that in spite of so many years of independence, in spite of, if I have to take the 80-20 ratio, okay, 80% of the population and the 20% of the population. in the same set of time after the independence, how is that this 20% was so high and the 80% was still here? So this is what we have to understand. So that we have to accept ourselves that the 80-20 ratio itself shows that we are a failure in eradicating, forget about eradicating, even addressing it in a proper way. We have addressed it. Many NGOs have addressed, the government has addressed. It's not a blame game. We don't have to blame anybody. I always say, I am responsible for whatever is the situation. If each one starts telling this that I am responsible, I think we can start addressing it. We can't eradicate 100%, we can't eradicate, or 100% we can't address the problem. But I stay in a place, okay, and the surrounding kilometers, the radius kilometers of 5, can I address the situation there? The moment I start addressing the situation there, I think the 5 kilometers, I am addressing it, not eradicating it. So what was my thing, what I have done? See, when Mr. Goel said that my pilot project for Ministry of Labor, the pilot project, what I did, we are talking about underprivileged education system at this COVID time. But I have addressed this problem before the COVID time. That was the time with the help of the regional director, S.J. Amalan, from Ministry of Labor. We had planned for the students who were not able to come from the villages to the cities to attend the skill training or to the schools and colleges. We started a mobile van, a mobile bus, where all the equipments were there, and it was in second-hand bus what I had purchased and designed that bus into a classroom. The first 10 seats where 20 students were occupied were the sitting class, and the half of the bus I had made it as a training unit. So this was a mobile training center what we had started, so that this mobile training bus will drive down to the village, station it in one of the place where there is a plug point, and then all the villages from nearby walkable distance, they would walk in. So that was the first pilot project what I did. Now, coming to the pandemic situation, what did I do? In this pandemic situation, I think each one of us had to learn a learning lesson, what exactly is my role? What is my role today and what is my role tomorrow? In this pandemic situation, I was a child psychologist, I was a family counselor, I was a teacher, I was a trainer, I was an advisor to the management. So keeping these 5 roles, I have a vast experience from the management to the parents. End of this entire system, we are giving the end outcome to the student. Have we been successful in giving it? Where did we lag? In the first month, it was a learning situation. Second month, why did I perform well? Third month, why didn't I make it a little bit a better ways? These are the few questions what we have to ask ourselves. Why were the children denied education? And today we have put into an adjective of underprivileged. As an educationist, what was my role? As a teacher, what was my role? It was very sad to see the government teachers were made to sit in the toll booths, in the poll booths, visit the villages without any precautions, where many teachers were positive. Was it that the government or the implementing authorities not aware, or were they not knowing that how I should use the teacher? My simple advice for the management was, if supposing I'm in an area named A, In the area named A, there were about 10 students. If I'm in area A, please don't send me to area B. Utilize me in the area A and see that I give the education to the 10 children. Many had laptops, many had mobile phones, many had other gadgets to, tabs and other gadgets to log in. But was the internet on? Was the data providing them the better quality? Was the parent responsible for it? I have seen so many parents that, the child is sleeping. The child does not know what it is. It just comes and say, oh, off the camera. So they were still not knowing how to do it. They also didn't take that, the much advantage what the technology gave. The government had to follow the social entrepreneur ways like Byju's. Like I'll just give one classical example of Byju's. How they are able to reach so many students who are paying in thousands. The bureaucracy, the management, the educationists had to approach and see that the same thousands of rupees education was done in hundreds. That was one way. And the other way, I said that one teacher A, is being in an area called A, let her just get utilized there. And honestly speaking, the parents who are parents after 2000, 2005 and 2010. So 2000, 2005, 2010, these three parents, okay, whose child may be about 21, whose child of parents, what I would like to, what I have given them the education, started telling the parent how he or she can give quality time to the child and see that the child studies the chapter, knows what is the subject. So this was the another way what I had approached the parents to give them, yes, underprivileged students were addressed in this way. Okay, if I have to tell, the government is responsible, the school is responsible, the school is taking so much of fees. This is all just a blame game. Stop the blame game. Unless and until I don't stop the blame game, thus we are not going to address any of this situation. Whether it is education, whether it is health, whether it is poverty, whether it is anything else. Like for another classical example, what I can give, how we can reach people. Swachh Bharat. When the thing came up with Swachh Bharat, how each one of us were addressed. How many toilets were built? The whole of India. It was on the globe for this thing. The same they could have started after 3 months. When we hear that, Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister Modi is going to come with a message, each one of us were in front of the TV to see what message he gives. So reaching people today is not a problem at all. This is what I have learned and this is what I have been teaching. I had, as I said, I had the opportunity to meet the students, even when this topic came up yesterday, I would like to mention about one such of my student, Khatija Mohsina from Ideal School, Edapada. I just told her to write an essay. I tell you, Lal Goel, the way she has picked up a 10th standard student, the way she has picked up the points, the way she has written, I was not able to think. When I read the whole thing, I said, yes, I have to go with something like this, what are the better measures what we can take to have these education. You ask the students are your best teachers. But what is happening to us that, the system, the situation, the environment, and the news channels, the viral messages, everything is clubbed together and confusing it. What is true and what is not true? Should I take the vaccination or shouldn't I take the vaccination? Is this news true or this news true? Are really 3.5 lakhs people getting infected every day? Or is it a false number? Each one of us are in a confused state. And today, again, without any preparation, without anything, having an experience of 13 months. Again, we just had a lockdown. Without, first they said there is no lockdown. Then again they said there is lockdown. Then again they said 50% lockdown, 50% lockdown. What is it? How will we get the accurate information? Why weren't the adequate measures never taken in all this period of time? We are talking about so many things. It's not only about we as educationists fail to deliver to the underprivileged students, especially to the students who are from the government schools. Private schools, I'll just finish it in 1 minute. Private school, they went with a behavior like, if you don't pay the fees, your child will not be allowed for even online classes. Under which exclamation mark should I put this? How can a school be so cruel to deny the education because the child's parent was not
Dr. Hassan, sorry, your voice is not clear now. Anyways, you have made your point. Sorry, today,
thing what the child has. My parent doesn't have parents.
Dr. Hassan, sorry, because your voice is breaking and the net is weak, and I have to inform my viewers that it is not only in Karnataka, but in Kerala also, they are facing lots of problems of the net issues because of the curfews which has been imposed from Friday evening to Monday morning. So this is a technical problem. I don't understand if the curfew is on, why the net is giving problem. Either it's something purposely or it is really a technical, but it's across the board because Dr. Hassan is from Karnataka and Dr. Omen is from Kerala, and everyone is facing net problem. Anyway, thank you very much, Dr. Hassan, for making your point. One point which I would like to highlight, which she says about the Bijus. Yes, it has reached to everyone because they have used a model called Shah Rukh Khan. The Swachh Bharat used to reach everywhere, where our Honorable Prime Minister was there. But for the underprivileged education, we don't have any such type of model. We don't have Honorable Prime Minister. Until we will not have someone who will be talking about the underprivileged class, then we cannot think for even giving the education. As Dr. Oman rightly said, first to remove the poverty, then come to the education. But what to do? We have to think of each and everyone. Now I'm going, thank you very much, Dr. Hassan. Please try to set your net properly so that I can ask the question which is very much needed. So please shift from one place to another place. You can't go outside of your home, but if you have some place where you can go in a garden, in your house only, go in that place, see the net is working. This is the situation, and online education is on. When the people are not getting the net, how the online education can work in India? This is the pathetic condition of our infrastructure. Anyway, that is a separate topic which we are going to raise in the. Now I'm coming to my next. I would like to invite my next guest, and I would like to introduce him. He is Dr. Janeshwar Pai Marur. Dr. Pai is MBA, MPhil, PhD. He is a professor of Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management, NITTE. He has qualified KSET management examinations conducted by University of Mysore in 2013. He has over 18 years of industry teaching and research experience. He has worked as lecturer at SDM College of Business Management and Postgraduate Center for Management Studies and Research, Mangaluru from 2003 to 6. He has worked with JP Morgan Chase Bank in India and Newark, Delaware, USA corporate office from 2006 to 2012. His teaching and research areas include behavioral and corporate finance, enterprise risk management, and corporation taxation, and has a strong exposure in practical knowledge of various statistical packages such as SPSS, MAT Lab, etc. He has published research papers in national and international journals and also presented research papers in various national and international conferences, seminars, and workshops. He is a life member of Indian Institute of Banking and Finance, IIBF, Mumbai Management Teachers Consortium Global, MTC Global, Bengaluru, International Association of Academicians and Researchers, INAAR, Pune, Indian Academicians and Researchers Association, IARA, Assam, and Federation of Indian Professional Trainers, FIPT, New Delhi. Welcome, Dr. Pai, on our show. Dr. Janeshwar Pai, you have heard Professor Dr. Omen Memon as well as Dr. Ruxana Hassan. Both were saying one thing, and that is that we are talking about the education of underprivileged, but what is the condition of underprivileged, and especially during the COVID time when they don't have anything even to fill up their stomach. And there was a media report which says those, even where the government is distributing the free, or the NGOs are distributing free food, these underprivileged children are asked to be in the last in the queue because of their dirty appearance, their not properly combed hairs, and these things, and in that case also many times they are not getting even the food because of they are last they are in the last in the queue. Forget about education. Now we are talking about education. So we would like to know the COVID returns impact on underprivileged education. Dr. Janeshwar Pai Marur, please.
I hope I'm audible, sir. Shall I proceed?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes. Respected Shri Lal Goel ji, other senior academicians in this panel, good morning. I've heard my senior friend, Dr. Uman and Dr. Ruxana. So let me put my points on this particular topic. So let me go straight to the Constitution of India. Now, the Constitution of India in Article 46 has directed the state to promote with special requirements of marginalized or underprivileged sections of the people, in particular that of the social scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, which we call as STs and the STs or the Dalits. Now, I don't want to politicize this issue, but let me tell you that substantial reduction in the education budget from the current government, Modi government, over the past 5 years has reduced allocations for scholarships given to these underprivileged communities, has affected the ability of the underprivileged children to be in this particular education system. And this is evident from the research which I've done from the government data between 2015 to 2020. Now, we are in the midst of global health crisis, and many economists describe this as the greatest economic downturn since the Great Depression of 1920s. Now, according to WHO, it is expected to starve the human race for a very, very long time. Now, to a naked eye, we might say that the virus is indiscriminate, right? It has affected the old and the young. It has affected wealthy and the impoverished, urban as well as the rural. Let me tell you, it has even impacted the world's richest countries first, and it has hit them hard as well. For every human being, it has brought life to a halt, right? Now, let us go and see the other darker area. The darker reality is that it has always lurked the underprivileged or the vulnerable citizens of the country. And this is very true in a country like India. And they are the ones who have always faced the brunt of India's massive inequalities. And they are going to suffer the most of the pandemic lasting effects, right? Now, we have to be very clear as to who am I referring to as the underprivileged, right? So the marginalized or the underprivileged citizens or the socially excluded are the ones whose plight has brought to horrifying stories. What is the story of an SC or an ST or a PWD or a sexual minority? These are the ones who are relegated to the fringes of society due to their lack of access to rights, resources, and the opportunities. Now, let me tell you, most of the underprivileged people are right now out of their business, or they've lost their jobs, or they do not have any social safety net right now, right? Now, let me go and talk about statistics here. According to the World Bank, around 53% of young people in the low and middle income countries live in learning poverty. I'm tossing a new point here, learning poverty. Now, the closure of schools, a measure taken everywhere by almost all the governments, including India, to facilitate physical distancing and to reduce the risk of contamination, is worsening this crisis and making it impossible to reach the goal of halving. In fact, every country wants to halve this learning poverty by 2030. Now, out of 1.6 billion children and young students who have been confined to their homes, are likely that they are unable to catch up, or in worst case, they will decide never ever return or go back to school again. Now, let us see the situation in India. So in India, underprivileged communities such as the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes make almost 25.2. This, I'm going by the 2011 census, 25.2 of the country's population. But when it comes to education, only 20% of the underprivileged communities are educated as per the 2011 census. Now, fees hikes would make the education even more inaccessible to them, right? Now, digital online learning has replaced. I'm a teacher, and the digital online learning has almost replaced my chalk and duster method, traditional teaching learning process during the pandemic and first wave as well as the second wave of COVID-19. Now, it is really going to demotivate or penalize the marginalized, the vulnerable, the underrepresented, and the minority students communities, leading to their dropping out from the fold of education. Now, let us all accept with the regret, I would say, the current education system. This has failed to address the needs of children who are vulnerable to marginalization and exclusion. I'm nothing against the national education policy, but let us all accept that the people who are marginalized are completely getting excluded. And adding to the fuel to the fire is the online teaching learning. This has affected the interest of these children, leading their further exclusion and injustice. Now, let me talk about some data regarding the scholarships. In Jan 2020, that is last year, just prior to pandemic, the CBSE increased the board exam fees for class 10 and class 12 for the general category from 750 rupees to 1,500 rupees. That means how much increase? 100% increase. What happened to the SC and the STs and the underprivileged? The fees, which was capped at just rupees 50, was increased to 1,200. If you look in terms of percentage, it is 2,300% hike. Can an underprivileged person bear this particular cost? Now, institutions of higher education, I am part of the higher education, such as the IITs or Indian Institute of Mass Communication, AIMS, I would say All India Institute of Medical Sciences, central universities such as Jawaharlal Nehru, everybody has raised their fees. Now, if you really closely observe, between 2015 to 2020, you will see that the share of education expenditure in the total union budget has drastically fell from 4% to less than 3.5%. Now, the dearth of funds are reflected both in the amounts allocated for scholarships as well as the decline in the number of beneficiaries across scholarships. I would like to raise a point from the 12th five-year plan. Now, the 12th five-year plan has said that pre-metric scholarship for the SCs and the STs be extended to class 1 to class 8. But let me tell you, the sad plight is no budget was allotted to the scheme, and the scheme was never upgraded, right? The pre-metric scholarships that were provided to the children whose parents' occupations was more of cleaning and whose parents were into were close to the health hazards. But here government did not utilize the funds at all allocated because states did not submit. A mere miss from a part of a state has completely messed this particular scheme. The states did not submit the proposals on time, and as per the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Social Justice and Empowerment, as a result, the number of beneficiaries fell down drastically. Now, there are good things as well as bad things to what I'm saying right now. If you look into the gross enrollment ratios, right, for the underprivileged SCs and the STs, at the elementary level, it is right now, I just checked statistics yesterday, it is 95%. The all India level average, the GER is 93.55. That means we are in a good situation. But if you look into the higher education, this has fallen to 17.2% when it comes to higher education compared to overall national GER, gross enrollment ratio of 26.3%. We are short of 10%. This is according to the All India Survey of Higher Education. That means for every 100, 57 SCs and 57 people are just dropping out from the purview of higher education system. Now, these school closures carry huge, I would say not huge, humongous social and economic impact for the people across communities. The impact and the intricacies are very, very severe for the most vulnerable and the marginalized boys and the girls and their families, right? The resulting disruptions due to COVID is not only exacerbating already existing disparities within education system, but also other aspects of their lives. Now, these would include, I have just 4 points to make. First one is their interrupted learning. Now, let us all understand schools provide essential learning, and when the schools are shut, the youths are completely deprived of their intellectual growth and development. In short, I would say for an underprivileged child or a ward, school shut is equal to learning stops. This is the formula. Coming to the second point is the poor nutrition. See, I was doing a survey of, we have owned 5 government schools in Nitte Gram Panchayat. And let me tell you from my study, when we did a survey in the schools and we asked the children as to why you're coming to school, though I expected education to be the priority, most of the kids said that they get one-time food in the school. That means they get free meals, milk, and the egg in the school, and at least this will take care of their healthy nutrition. So schools closed means malnutrition for an underprivileged child or a ward. The next one is parents unprepared for distance and homeschooling. When schools close, parents are often asked to facilitate the learning at home, and they can struggle, in fact, in this particular task. Why? This is especially true for underprivileged parents, because 2 things: they are either having no access to education, or they didn't have education access during their times, or even if they had less education, the resource crunch is going to be a matter of concerns. The last point which I would like to tell is the gaps in the children. In the absence of alternate options, the daily wage earners or the coolie parents often leave their child alone. And when the school close, leave their child or children alone when the school close, and this could lead to very risky behaviors in terms of child's access to drugs. It could be rape or sexual assaults and substance abuse. So these are my important observations about COVID returns and impact on underprivileged children education system. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pai, for giving very elaborate narration about the underprivileged education impact of the COVID returns. And one important point I just want to highlight, because the paucity of the time, is he says that there is as per the Article 46 of the Constitution of India, it's written there that the states must give and promote, give the benefits to the underprivileged and especially the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. And he says in the last 5 or 7 years, the benefits have been reduced drastically. He says even the fees have increased, even for the underprivileged. So it is not only it says from all the angles, we are marginalized, rather we are stopping the education of the underprivileged. And the COVID, no school, no education, according to Dr. Pai. Thank you very much, Dr. Pai, for giving such an elaborate thing. And fortunately, your net was working, so at least it was very, very clear what you have spoken. Now, I would like to invite and introduce my next guest, and she is Miss Kanchan Kishore. Ms. Kishore is a consultant in education and financial services and involved in setting up of new educational institutions for various purposes. She is working for various non-profit organizations in setting up educational services and also raising funds for projects where underprivileged are served. She is also engaged in conducting educational, motivational, and corporate training sessions for various organizations and institutions across SAARC countries. Welcome, Ms. Kanchan Kishore, on our show. Ms. Kanchan Kishore, you have heard the earlier panelists, Professor Dr. Omen Memon, Dr. Rukhsana Hassan, as well as Dr. Janeshwar Pai Marur. They have explained everything about the underprivileged children as well as underprivileged children's education. Now, we would like to know from you the COVID returns impact on underprivileged education. Ms. Kanchan Kishore, please.
Thank you, Dr. Goel, and A very good morning to all the panelists and the viewers who are watching this program. The topic is COVID returns, impact on underprivileged education. And this itself, exhibits the priority of our list of things. So when we talk about this pandemic, as Dr. Uman said, that education is not the priority right now. The priority is survival. And in my whole experience with working with corporates and organizations who are setting up new educational institutes, many of them are for underprivileged section. And I personally is also a part of various NGOs based in my city, where as a part of CSR activity or as a part of social entrepreneurship, people have set up educational institutes for underprivileged, for rag pickers, for domestic helps children. We have got a lot of educational support system. But when we talk about this pandemic situation, my whole experience says that right now the question is of survival instead of education. And it has always been there. When we are saying the word underprivileged means what? Underprivileged means they do not have access to the basic things which are necessary for human survival in a civilized society. Underprivileged means they do not have access to good schools, because as a welfare society, we have government who's working for underprivileged section in a very big ratio. And then we have NGOs, and all this has a kind of philosophy where you know that you are serving underprivileged. They do not have a claim or a right to the services which you are providing. Even if we are talking about health services or educational services or other things which we want to provide to underprivileged, everybody of us has this in our mind that they are underprivileged. That is not their right. And we are serving them. We are giving them a favor by doing it. So this mentality, I think, because of my experience, I can say that this mentality is the root problem of all these situations. When we are working, like as in India, so about all the other SAARC countries, everybody around the world is fighting with pandemic, and there are shortage of funds, shortage of resources for medical services and help on priority. Then comes the education. So in all the SAARC countries where I am working, I have seen this, that the government has, because of the political, because of the social pressure, because of the expectation from the government, that education has to continue. But please answer one simple question. If there is a question of survival, how does making education mandatory in this pandemic time is more important than anything else than survival? Can't we as a society, as Dr. Uman said, can't we as a society hold on our few of the expectations which are not priority right now? If we talk about the history, 80:20 ratio is always there in all the societies, and history has shown that when before independence, only few people were privileged to go to London or to go abroad and become barristers or doctors and come back to India. So that 80:20 ratio has still prevailed after independence also. But the expectation of the society has increased incredibly. Earlier, people were more concerned about the value system. Now, after independence, 75 years of independence, we as a society have got, the habit of expecting everything in a very fast forward manner. We expect government to do everything. But as a society member, not many of us are, willing to go out of our comfort zone and do something for the underprivileged. When we talk about underprivileged, we as a society think that it is not their right. So as an individual of a society, we should come together. I'm talking about NGOs also. In NGOs also, not everybody is of that same mindset that we have to bring these underprivileged people above and handhold them and make them, competent. It is a kind of, because NGO is run by few people and then there are employees in it. So the basic mindset of the society I have found in these years is that we think we are doing a favor by serving them. So this concept of underprivileged has to be defined. And if during these many years of our independence, if we have failed as a system to bring these people, underprivileged means people who are poor, those who are below poverty line, those who are struggling for the basic resources of food and shelter, health services, socio-economic standing. So if we are talking about underprivileged, then as a society, apart from just the government, because the government is also a part of society, the government officers, why government schools are not offering very good education? We are talking about online education system. Many of the government teachers, they were not trained to conduct online training classes, but they were given the target of collecting students and show that, by screenshots, how many students were attending the classes. Now, all of a sudden, a government teacher is giving the responsibility of collecting 65 students of her class and show the screenshot that they were present. And this was made the criteria of her performance appraisal. Now, see, all these things are so quick because of pandemic that people are doing everything possible just to prove their productivity. And the challenge of education has taken a backseat. It is all about filling the numbers, which is there in health sector also, which is there in social public distribution network system also, and which is there in education sector also. This is not aloof from other systems. So my point is that if we are talking about education, impact of education because of COVID and underprivileged, I must say that underprivileged is a bigger challenge. Being underprivileged is a bigger challenge, and we as a society have to first work to make them privileged part of the society. At least their basic human rights for survival should be addressed not only by the government but by the society as well. Why the working conditions of our house helps is so poor that they cannot afford the net charges, the internet connecting charges for their children. My house help was, my house help has 2 sons, and they are studying in government schools. The teacher gave them, a mandate that you have to connect to the classroom. Now, my house help had got 1 Android phone, and the classes were on the same time, different classes on the same time. Now, you tell me that how can a domestic help afford to have 2 Android phones with proper net facility and give it to her children so that the government mandate of conducting online classes is achieved? So we have to find out first the solution, why these underprivileged have remained underprivileged for so long. How as a society we can, come forward and help them in their basic necessities instead of just blaming the government.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Yes.
this
Okay.
question remains the question, a big
Okay.
question, because
Okay.
I think we as a society, we have to first transform our way of thinking about seeing the things, and then expecting first the government and then the other people to bring the change, and not making ourselves responsible for bringing the change. That
Okay.
is the thing.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kanchan Kishore, for defending the government, defending indefensible, because after all, the government, it's a liability or the duty of the government to give see to it the underprivileged will get everything. It's not the, yes, we as a civil society, we also supposed to do it, but why not the government? Or the government duty is only to conduct elections, conduct organize Kumbh Melas, or only those are the priorities, or construction of a statue, or construction of a stadium, or construction of temple, not the hospitals. What is happening today in the country? And we are defending, we are saying the underprivileged, it's not the fault of any government, it's the fault of the civil society. Anyways, I will be coming to a tough question to you on this topic afterwards. Now my question goes to Professor Dr. Omen. He is joined. Please unmute yourself, Professor Dr. Omen. Professor Dr. Omen, can you hear me? No. No, I think your net is not working. Dr. Ruxana Hassan, are you there? Please switch on if you are, whosoever. Yes, yes, Dr. Ruxana Hassan. Now I'm asking you the question, what lesson we learned from last year pandemic? We are talking for last year. Pandemic was on, and in somewhere in August or so, our honorable health minister announced that because of our honorable prime minister, we have conquered the pandemic. Now we are very comfortable. We are the only country in the world, and we have not learned anything. When it was, and it is fact, we have conquered the pandemic the way no other countries would have done. but in spite of that, we have not done anything to see to it that what is the condition of underprivileged. You just think, I have seen personally in Mumbai, there is a pavement classes going on. The NGOs are working on the pavement, on the streets, where on the side of the roads, where the rag pickers or those who are underprivileged, they are teaching. Now, during this pandemic, no earning for those underprivileged, no teaching, and we are saying government can't do because the government is helpless right now. I am asking you, why? What lessons we have learned? You as an NGO, what lessons we have learned? Or we thought now we have defeated, forget, now we are again involved in all those activities which are not at all on priority. Same thing happened in other countries. It's not like this. I can give you example of UK. UK also had this problem. They have more cases income, if you see the ratio, but they were paying 80% the salary to everybody, even to the private sector. The government was paying. That is why the government is responsible, not the civil society. My question is this: why our government failed, and what lessons we have not learned? Dr. Ruxana Hassan.
If I have to just tell it in few words.
Only few words. On 1 minute only to you.
Yeah. Yes, it was just the denial. The first thing is the denial that, we don't have that big problem. That was the reason that, so many crores were spent on all the other events, whatever you have mentioned. It was just the denial. Unless and until you don't accept it, the denial is the bigger disease than the acceptance. Denial is the only thing what we have learned.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Dr. Pai, my question to you is, when we cannot give the privileged, underprivileged education, government should say only this year the privileged will get the education, no education for underprivileged, or declare as a 0 year for education. Either one thing. Don't be a double standard. What is happening? Online education is only for few elite, moneyed people, those who are staying in a urban metro cities. What about the rural? 70% the students are in from rural area, no internet. And you have seen the today's condition of net, what is happening today, what is going. So either declare a 0 year for education. So the problem is that if I am not going to give the CBSE exam, what will be my future for my university exam? Nothing, everything is 0 year. Or declare only privileged are entitled for the education. Till the pandemic is over, it will take 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, no education for underprivileged. What you say about this, Dr. Pai? 1 minute only.
Sir, regarding announcement of year as a 0 academic year, or giving priority only for the privileged people. See, my concern is this will widen the gap between the privileged and the underprivileged. You cannot tend to discriminate. Already the underprivileged people are enough discriminated. I think if we are going to give education for the privileged, and underprivileged are going to be again excluded, the gap will be widened. That's not possible. Again, I said, though the underprivileged people account for 25.2% of the India's population, the education access is only 20% of the population. So the gap will be widened. So it is not at all possible. And what I would say the current government should do is controlling COVID by announcing lockdown is not at all a big deal. If you take care of communities which are getting hit hard, people will not revolt, resist, or retaliate. Right? I would like to tell one thing to conclude. How many underprivileged communities have been the beneficiaries of the 20 lakh crore project, which was announced by the Honorable Prime Minister last year? That's my. So government, and when it comes to state, the government's lack of preparations, food security is not done, public health and facilities are not well established, the job security, the jobs, the SMEs are not being supported by the government. So these are some of the things.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Pai. Now my question is to Ms. Kanchan Kishore. Ms. Kanchan Kishore, do you think we as a civil society failed to do our duty during the pandemic, or government priorities are not for the underprivileged? The priorities are for rich people, corporate houses. They have given on the record, on the media, the Mr. Adhar Poonawalla has mentioned very clearly that he is making money, he is making profit even in 150 rupees of vaccine. Instead of 150, now the state government has to pay 400 rupees and the private hospital has to pay 600 rupees per dose. How much percentage of profit we are giving to a corporate house, and we are not talking about the underprivileged? What do you say? 1 minute, please.
Yes, Dr. Goel, my earlier submission was also that government should not be held responsible because you, me, and our family members are also the people who are running the government. Somewhere government officers and government system is from the society itself. So if I'm talking about, yes, you are correct when you say that government is not helping underprivileged. That also implies that we as a civil society are not doing our part. Of course, many NGOs, many people who have got the social responsibility in themselves are doing their more than their bit to help underprivileged. But when we talk about government, people from this society are working in government, and the mindset of those people are not at all favorable for underprivileged. And they make opportunity out of this disaster also. Okay. So this is my submission.
Okay, thank you very much. So today you have seen the expert views are very, very clear that why talk about education? Education is the least priority for government as well as for the civil society. We are not interested in education. Right now, the priority is how to get the money to fill our own stomach. That is the priority. And if this is the priority, then why to keep a topic like impact on underprivileged education? Yes, my mistake, I admit. I should have kept the topic at COVID returns impact on underprivileged, not on the education. Because education, everybody says, why education? When the poverty is so much gap is already there. It was there earlier after the 70 years of our independence, irrespective of any of the government. And now it is widening very, very hugely, very increasing like anything. What is going to happen? We all, the civil society people, also think that who is responsible for this. Thank you very much for coming and giving your views. And today's program, which has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon se Samvad Sarokar News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day new and current topic. And tomorrow's topic is very hot, and that is media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. The topic is oxygen, oxygen, oxygen. Yes, you know that shortage of oxygen, the people, patients, the hospitals, everybody is crying for the oxygen. So the topic is oxygen, 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 and our panelists are Brigadier Dr. Pradeep Srivastav, Medical Superintendent, Integral Medical College, Lucknow, Dr. Kapil Rathi, Medical Director and Consultant, My Health Clinics, Mumbai, Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, Chairman Gyandeep Shiksha Bharati Senior Secondary School, Mathura. So tomorrow, please do join for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Omen Memon. Thank you very much, Dr. Ruxana Hassan. Thank you very much, Dr. Janeshwar Pai Marur, as well as thank you very much, Miss Kanchan, for joining and giving your very, very elaborate and very, I must say, enlightening views of